Hello again, and welcome to Nutanix Weekly, one of the many podcasts here at XenTegra. We like to call it content with context, and that's because we take the best content on the web, bring it to you, and break it down, adding our context. I'm your host, Phil Sellers. I'm the Director of Modern Data Center here at XenTegra, and I can't do this alone. I'm joined with my team members, Chris Calhoun and Andy Greene, both solutions architects on the team. Chris, how's life been treating you?
Fantastic, I think is my default answer, sir.
And see, I've worked with Chris long enough to know that that's exactly the answer I was going to get with the exact enthusiasm I was going to get.
Absolutely.
It's a joy working with you, Chris, because you're always just enthusiastic.
Love hanging out with this crew.
Yeah, it's a good crew. Andy Greene, how are you doing?
Doing well. Excited to be here. What could be better than hanging out with your friends and recording a podcast?
Well, I'm going to say this episode might be our hurricane party episode. We've got a tropical storm just off the coast of the Carolinas. And so, Chris and I are far enough inland that it's just a little bit of rain. But Jirah and Andy, you guys are a little closer to it. Any weather problems for you, Jirah, other than maybe a little rain?
Nothing so far. I was feeling okay about it. Now I feel a bit more nervous. Thanks, Philip.
Hey, as somebody that lived on coastal property for many, many years, we've weathered our fair share. But it's always something to watch. I will take a hurricane over a tornado any day.
Oh, true that.
I could not make it in the middle of the country because those things pop up too quick. Well, today we want to talk a little bit about something new that's coming soon. It's interesting because we don't get the opportunity to talk about futures a lot, and I think that's on purpose from Nutanix. They talk about what they're delivering and what's on the truck, but we do have an opportunity to kind of talk about it. A few episodes ago, we talked about Pure Storage announcements from .next, and we've got another external storage announcement. So without spoiling it, because the title's going to spoil it, Jirah, what have we got?
So, this is very close to breaking news, or mere days old at this point. Dell PowerStore coming to Nutanix, which is very exciting.
Wait. Didn't Dell already announce external storage for Nutanix?
I don't know if you know, Philip, Dell has an awful lot of kinds of flavors of external storage. But it's funny, that does give me some great memories, right? It was you and I sitting in Barcelona about 16 months ago.
Yeah.
And at that time, there was 0 flavors of external storage for Nutanix. And now, 16 months later, which is not really all that much time in the world, we now have one solution that's fully GA with Dell PowerFlex, one that's in early access with Pure Storage, and now we've announced another one coming out soon with Dell PowerStore. So it's just rain and storage over here at Nutanix.
That goes with our hurricane party theme.
Don't get hit by a flying storage array. That is not a joke.
Well done. So you're right though. I mean, it's only been 16 months, and I remember at that announcement, we had a colleague who had just returned from a partner technical advisory board. We were talking about how should it work? What's the benefits? Should we do it? Should we not do it? And this is really kind of a response to industry demand. It is really customer demand driven. What's going on there, Jirah?
As more and more customers looking to replatform their hypervisor in the data center, we don't catch every customer at an opportune time around, hey, do your software refresh and buy new compute and buy new storage, which for the first, 16 years of our history as a company has been the way to buy Nutanix, right? So this is a really wonderful journey that we're on here to add more flexibility technically for even more flexibility financially. There we go. Made that work. To help customers meet them where they are, right? If you've got an 18-month-old PowerStore array, you're probably very excited to hear this news that you now can bring Nutanix to that party keep the power store that you've got lots of life left in, but make that software change that you so critically need to make.
Yeah. Yeah, there's not a lot of choices, and I feel for customers, our clients right now, because they're faced with some pretty difficult decisions in terms of where their infrastructure runs. The Broadcom factor has become a major talking point. At one point earlier this year, it was 50% of all of our conversations. I think it's an undercurrent in almost every conversation we're having now. So nearly 100% of conversations really kind of centering around this. Chris, for our clients and stuff listening, what does this external storage announcement with PowerStore mean for them?
I definitely think that, like you said, it's you've got to meet customers, as Jirah mentioned, through their journey. And if they've already purchased and invested in Dell technology for storage, they want to have the flexibility to be able to reuse and repurpose as they move forward, in that not getting locked into um, uh, a solution of choosing from the past 3 to 5 years. They want that flexibility to explore with Nutanix and have the comfort to know that you're not going to have to repave and re-architect a whole new solution. That's really the key, because that investment is a tough decision to make. And once a business of any size commits to that decision, they need to stick with it, not having to be able to just turn around and print money and go a different route the very next year when VMware changes or Broadcom changes their direction, and let it be a decision that they make. And I think that that's really a key about, again, using the hardware compatibility list that Nutanix is focusing on. I think is key, because to me, like we just talked about, hey, wasn't there a mention just recently about Dell? And to me, that gives the idea that, hey, this is a repeatable process with external storage, in the sense that we're looking at the technology starting with Dell or starting with the PowerFlex, and now moving to PowerStore. It's, again, something that you can expect going forward for Nutanix doing and looking like simplicity, but taking difficult tasks and making them easier for their end user customers. And I think that that's really important.
Yeah, it's been lovely to see that. That it was an early design goal that the experience of administering an HCI cluster is fully relevant to administering a cluster of Nutanix with external storage. The create VM button just works. The create vdisk button just works. The volume groups just work. Extending a vdisk just works. Nothing else to learn there, right? The day one, the way you install it is a little bit different. Day two, the way you operate it is identically the same.
And if you think about it, this isn't an entirely new concept from Nutanix. They've always had a very tightly controlled hardware compatibility list. That's how we can guarantee the performance that we're looking for. It's how we guarantee things like we're not going to wear out the SSDs inside of the servers. But they've always had that ability to run on top of those standard, just industry standard Intel servers. So we're seeing this expansion into the SAN market as well. But we're, really follows suit with things that we've seen previously. We had the Dell XC Nutanix ready nodes, and other OEM vendors as well. So, I think this is a good thing for the clients out there. They have the existing relationships, they have existing investments in technology, and it just gives them, that freedom of choice that we've talked about so much in the past.
Yeah, I think, we talk about core things, right? One of those is simplicity. Another of those is, performance, high level of support. But this is now a continuing conversation around flexibility as well. And so this same goodness that we've gotten to know around our VM estate in HCI world is now coming with external storage. But to Jirah's point, it's going to manage the same way. So there's no retraining. That's simply simplification. So now it's simplification with flexibility. What can we expect, Jirah? I'll throw it to you. What can customers expect?
Well, if I look back a little bit over some very recent history, what do customers like out of our ultra recent external storage partnerships? It's that the array that they love stays the array that they love, right? Remains high performance, still provides all the great dedupe that they are used to, or let's just say data reduction, broadly speaking. All the data reduction that they're used to, still is there, still managed separately. They can forecast for storage, separately, which is the whole reason why people love that kind of architecture. So all that goodness just is fully preserved. And now we're able to just run Nutanix next to it.
Yeah. So in a lot of ways, this is kind of the answer to a drop-in vSphere replacement. You're getting an ecosystem, but it's VM centric, and you're going to be able to really migrate workloads. Andy, I'm going to throw it to you. Let's talk a little bit about migration, because that's a huge concern. As you're looking to replatform from one to the other, migration's an inevitable part of that. What's Nutanix got that helps within that regard?
Yeah, Nutanix has a tool called Nutanix Move that's included with your Nutanix subscription, and it's basically a tool that we can use to help migrate from other platforms into Nutanix. So it's going to do the initial seeding of data from the previous hypervisor into the Nutanix platform, and then it'll keep those two environments in sync with one another until we're ready for that cutover point. And when we cut over, we're basically just powering down the VM on the production side and bringing it back up on Nutanix.
Yeah. And we've done, I would dare to say, 1 million of those as XenTegra over the last few years. That's the number I'm sticking to. It may be marketing, but it feels like it. I mean, we've moved large enterprise environments. Move may be a no-cost tool, but it's a high-value tool. And being able to do that and highly orchestrate that migration is a huge benefit. One of the things that strikes me too, Chris, is that, as Jirah describes the way that it works with the external storage, it sounds very tightly coupled. Nutanix is in charge.
Yes.
Is that accurate?
Yes, absolutely. To me, it's goes back to the management that of, hey, and one of the things that we used to say is, like, whenever you first got your smartphone, you didn't follow procedure to read a manual or anything like that. It's simply just basically intuitive. And that's really what makes this technology an expansion of the simplicity of Nutanix. It's intuitive to continue to use that backend storage that you've got guys that are reliant and have used that in the past, and you want to have them branch and extend their technical knowledge, and that's Nutanix. It is a drop-in replacement, but it's also the capabilities of the foundation of Nutanix from even our past podcast of, hey, this leads you now down to a containerized platform. It's the foundation of your future expansion of a cloud-like platform, whether it's on premises in this case, or even ties into public cloud. Nutanix is really seeing the vision of bringing a modern approach to what has been an investment for some people in the past, and reusing that investment. And I think that that's really the key as they continue to make these type announcements going forward.
Yeah. The blog post goes on to say, continuing to raise the bar. Dell's collaboration with Nutanix continues to evolve, guided by real world customer needs and a shared vision for the future. PowerFlex was one step, PowerStore is another. but they're really embracing the Nutanix way, that highly orchestrated thing. And so it talks a little bit about automated lifecycle management. Andy, can you tell us a little bit more about what Dell's planning between their XC platform and the PowerFlex and PowerStore?
Yeah, I think what they're looking towards is to fully integrate this solution into Nutanix's ecosystem. So, think tools like Lifecycle Manager to manage both everything from the hypervisor down to the storage. Gives us that ability to now we can independently scale the compute and storage, but we can also reduce complexity and make it much easier to keep all of this tooling up to date and in sync with one another.
Well, last question obviously is this is early. We said it's a future. So, Chris, when are we going to get these goodies?
I was just looking for the goodness. So early access is spring of 26. So looking at what, maybe 6 months for early access or so, and then targeted GA coming in summer of 2026.
And
So
as with
stay
all
tuned.
things, yes, stay tuned. But as with all things, timelines may change, things like that. Like I said, we don't get to talk about futures all that often, so this is fairly exciting. We're looking towards GA again for Pure Storage at the end of this year, with PowerStore coming by summer of next year. So it's exciting times for our customers. So I'm going to have to revise the way I talk about Nutanix. It's a platform based in simplicity, performance, and flexibility. So, that flexibility piece is becoming even more evident. Reuse of hardware and now reuse of existing storage investments. That's a huge, huge differentiator. There's not really a competitor in the market space other than VMware, and we all know that that's where our clients are trying to escape from. So it helps justify Nutanix as that alternative choice. Well, guys, thanks so much for spending a little bit of time kind of talking about this announcement. Um, since it's a future, there's not a lot more that we can share or talk about at this point, but I look forward to getting together again in 6 months as we approach that GA and there's more details, because I know there's a lot of PowerStore out in the marketplace. So I'm excited to have an updated conversation soon. Any closing thoughts, Andy, Chris, before we head out?
I think it's a good time to be in technology from a Nutanix perspective.
Yeah.
I've got customers that are itching to hear this news, itching to see it in action. And that's, to me, exciting in the sense that, in the past, you kind of expected as we'll say a VMware customer in the past, you knew what your infrastructure would look like. There's a back-end Death Star SAN array, fiber channel running all throughout your data center, and then front-ended with some type of typical x86 servers. Obviously, Nutanix is taking that and revamping the approach, allowing you to be flexible and yet still use some of your, I'll say legacy gear, because some of it may be choices, like you said, 18 months old, halfway into the lease cycle or something like that. So thinking about that is really, to me, the future. Like you said, Philip, it's exciting to see where Nutanix is going. So I think that that's something that will definitely be something that we as a group keep our eyes peeled for future advancements, because if they can continue this route with Dell, and obviously there's been mention of Pure in the past,
Mhm.
what's next? What technology is next that Nutanix can integrate their simplicity with future advancements?
Andy, what's your thoughts?
Closing thoughts. I would say, I'm excited about this announcement from Nutanix and Dell. We know that Dell has a very high performance enterprise grade file system. We've seen a lot of our clients out there using it. I think this is a good thing for all parties involved. It gives us a lot of flexibility, especially around architecting for database solutions where we may be limited in the number of cores that we want inside of the solution. This can give us some additional flexibility in how we tackle some of those challenges as well. So, my thoughts are I'm excited to see Nutanix broadening their horizons, and with this being the third disaggregated storage that we've seen, I hope that we'll see more to come.
Yeah, that's a great point. Sometimes we don't make decisions purely technically driven. Sometimes it's financial, sometimes it's licensing constraints. We break apart clusters based on Linux here, Windows there, SQL here, Oracle there. That's a really good use case, I think, for this type of a platform, is to be able to truly control the number of cores required in a virtualized database environment. So it's a great call out. Well, guys, thanks for joining me. As always, Jirah, Andy, Chris, really appreciate your point of views. Thanks for sharing. And for everybody listening, we really appreciate you spending a little bit of time with us. We know that your time's valuable, so we don't take that for granted. And we look forward to catching you again soon on another episode of Nutanix Weekly. So on behalf of everyone at XenTegra, thanks for listening, and we will talk to you soon.